Money Magicians. Welcome to yet another Money Magic podcast. I am so excited about this podcast. It was supposed to happen in 2021. This is when I was actually writing the Woman Money Journal, or rather having it published. And it just didn't, because my relationship with the podcast went a different direction. I'll tell you guys a whole story about how I thought I was going to start a self-publishing, how I was going to start a publishing company for people, and came to my senses halfway through in about April 2022. But hey, like, I'm back with the podcast, and our guest today is Marcia Armstrong, and she is still here, and her message is so powerful. I love reading her updates on Facebook, and I'd always think to myself, wow, when I do the Money Magic podcast again, I need to have her on the podcast. So thank you for saying yes again, Marcia. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
It's absolutely my pleasure to be here. Hello to everyone. So my name is Marcia Armstrong. I am from the beautiful island of Barbados. So I'm so thankful that technology is able to bring us both together. And just a little bit about who I am and what I do and who I serve. So I am a personal finance disruptor. I used to be known as a personal finance strategist, but I believe that I've been called to disrupt how things are being done in the financial industry. And therefore, I help persons, I educate people, I equip and I empower corporate professionals as well as entrepreneurs who are small or micro business owners with strategic financial solutions so that they can create generational wealth. We understand that wealth is not just about us, but the people that we also impact. And I look forward to see how our podcast would, go forward. And I look forward to the questions that will come today.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Marcia. I love your energy. You're very high energy. I love it. So please, can you tell us a little bit about your background? How did you come to be a personal finance disruptor?
So I would say it really came through it came through my own personal journey with my finances. So I worked in banking. I worked at Citibank for 10 years. And in the year of 2018 in particular, it was a scenario whereas I was working for a very good salary at the bank, and I really wasn't really sure where my money was going. I'm a person who gives a lot. I love to give to people in need, and I recognize that every time that I would give to persons, I never really tracked my money. I never really tracked my finances, and it was literally living paycheck to paycheck. At that particular time, if an emergency had arise, it meant that I was not in a position to deal with it. And in those particular times in my life, I had to then go to my mom, say, hey, can you, give me money that could then, hold me over till I get paid again. And I recognized then at that moment that was a problem. Being able to look at your year-end annual statement, when we had the full taxes, look at your year-end salary, and you're asking yourself, like, where is my money going? And therefore, in January of 2018, I had a realization or a conversation with God at that time. And I said, hey, I'm here giving, I'm doing good things. I need more money to help solve my issue of not having enough. Because sometimes when we have issues with money, we assume that we need to get more money to throw at a problem, not understanding the root issue. And so therefore, the response coming out of that conversation would have been, I don't need more money. I need to steward what I have better. And that was the very first time I heard about stewardship in regards to managing your money. And I called my experience, like, if the scales fell off my eyes, I was able to kind of like see things a little bit differently. I then heard about some personal finance subject matter experts in the area, whether it was Dave Ramsey at the time, whether it was Ty and Talat from His and Her Money. These different persons would have then come into my peripheral view, and I started to learn all I could about financial literacy. Because of that encounter, I became debt-free 1 year later. And I was also able then to save towards my emergency fund. I started to invest. So really and truly, I started to make my money work for me. And when I experienced these things like in 2019 and 2020 respectively, I then asked myself, I said, you know what? I don't want it to end at me. How can I help other people also get rid of their finances? And therefore, in the year of 2020, when God told me to start my business, A Purpose Life, it wasn't a scenario where I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I knew that he was calling me out of the corporate space to go into entrepreneurship. And therefore, the business was going to be based on my own personal experience of how I would have gotten myself financially ready and financially equipped. And therefore, I then decided to use my business as a vehicle to help other people then become right with their finances as well. And I have seen many, many transformations over the years since I said yes to that.
Thank you for sharing that. That sounds absolutely amazing. I know someone is sitting here and is like, oh my gosh, that is me. I know I am earning more than enough, but I just do not know where to start with stewarding what I have. So let's start with the debt part, right?
Yes.
How did you start paying off your debt? What did you do to become debt free?
So I love this question. One of the things for sure in your debt-free journey is number one, acknowledging your debt. Sometimes when it comes to that, money in itself can make people embarrassed. It can make people ashamed. It can make you feel guilty. And therefore, persons don't talk about it because it's taboo. So one of the things you have to do when it comes to your debt-free journey is to first acknowledge that you do have debt. Secondly, what I would have done is then to determine what would have been my debt repayment strategy. There are many strategies out there. You have the snowball method where you start with the smallest outstanding balance first up to the largest. You have the avalanche method, which is the highest interest rate debt. And then you have consolidation where you consolidate all of your debts together to make one payment. In my case, I did not have a lot of debt. I only had my student loan debt, because what would have happened is that prior to my student loan debt, I was debt free. But because that there was a change in government, and that government decided that persons who attended university had to pay tuition fees, I ended up with more than $13,000 of debt. I had a decision to make at school, get into debt to cover my last year, or defer my education. Deferring my education was not an option for me. I wanted to get out. So again, number one is about acknowledging the debt, how you got the debt, acknowledge the debt that you have, and then you select the debt repayment strategy. In my case, I selected the snowball method. My third step would be you look at ways in which you can throw everything, and as they say in Barbados, everything at the kitchen sink at this debt. So what are the many ways that you can then put towards the debt? So you're paying beyond just the monthly amount that you have been asked to pay according to your loan agreement. What are some ways you can earn extra income to put towards this debt? So in my case at Citibank, one of the things that they offered as a benefit was tuition reimbursement. Now, I would admit, when I first heard about it, my money scarcity mindset at the time was like, I don't want to accept anything from my employer, because then I might have to, because once you accept that benefit, you had to work at least a year after. And if you did not work a year after, you had to pay it back, right? But if you surpass the year, then you won't have to pay back the funds. But my money scarcity mindset at the time was telling me, do not accept this thing from my employer, because then you're going to be locked in and all these different things. And I remember that my manager at the time told me, Marcia, take advantage of the benefit, right? Don't think negative about it, take advantage. So because I signed up for the tuition reimbursement at Citibank, what that allowed me to do is that I was able then to submit my semester, my grades. I was able to submit any books they would have had, etc. What they would have done is to pay towards the semester with the submission of these documents. So my loan was supposed to start, for instance, in the year of 2020. So I graduated in 2020. My loan was supposed to start 6 months after. Because I took on the tuition reimbursement, I actually prepaid my loan 4 years in advance. So it was a 4-year loan, and I prepared that loan in just 12 months, because what the tuition reimbursement allowed me to do was to prepay towards the loan even before the loan started, according to agreements and documentation. So what I would say, number 3, would be to take advantage and look for ways in which you can throw extra money towards your debt before it even starts, if you're in that vein. But if the loan has started, look for additional streams of income that you can put towards the debt. Number 4 for me as well was setting up my account in a way that it automatically deducted money towards my goal. So what that does is that it takes you out of the equation, and it allows some things to happen in the back end for you to become debt free. So you're no longer, you don't have to manually transfer funds. You set up automations and let that automation work for you in the back end. And it was still lastly for me was having, well, two more things. One was having a support system. Now, in my case, I did not have a support system in regards to like family and friends per se, but my support system was joining other groups on Facebook, other financial groups that those were people that had they were like-minded. They were also trying to achieve something financially. And therefore, when it was sharing my updates in those groups, it was more so received better than me sharing with a friend. Because if my friend was not on the same path as me, they could not really understand my language. Because here is me talking about debt freedom when that is the norm for a lot of people. People think that is normal. So therefore, I could not really speak to people in my close knit of family or friends because they really didn't understand where it was coming from. So therefore, I sought out my support in groups online on Facebook, where that when I shared my journey, you have people cheering you on, or persons encouraging you to keep going and motivating you. And lastly, I would say reward yourself. So as you go through your milestones, don't just focus on the destination of becoming debt-free, although that's really the plan. You don't really focus on just the end, focus on the journey. Because as I became debt-free, Marcia changed. My mindset changed towards money. The way how I spent, my behaviors would have changed as well. Who I surrounded myself with would have changed as well. So look at the fact that you are also evolving and you are also changing. And therefore, you want to celebrate every single milestone up to the point that you do achieve the goal at the end. So it's not about just achieving a goal, but you become the goal. Your lifestyle changes, right? Your habits change, your mindset shifts. So who do you become? Who do you evolve into while you are completing this process so that when you get to the end, you can say, job well done. And you celebrate it. Because we, as I can say, as Black persons, or maybe people in general, we don't celebrate ourselves, right? We are very easy. It comes easy to celebrate others. But when it comes to celebrating ourselves, it's really hard. But you got to get to a point where you celebrate yourself, celebrate your wins, whether big or small. Because if you don't celebrate your wins, what's going to happen is that you're telling your mind that the effort that you put in did not matter. When you don't celebrate yourself. It means that the effort and the sacrifice it did not have any bearing, it did not matter. And that's not the case. You sacrificed, you did what you had to do in the short term because there was a bigger goal at the end to achieve. So therefore, you want to celebrate everything, whether small or large. So that's really how I got out of that and stayed out of that. I just want to mention that as well, that I got out of that working a corporate job, but even in full-time entrepreneurship, I am still debt-free.
Thank you. Love it. Preach it.
Thank
That's
you.
the big thing. It's getting out of debt and staying out of debt, you know?
Yeah.
Like being debt free for the last 10 years, I can't ever, it's so weird. Once you become debt free, it just becomes, and you get used to it, it just becomes kind of your norm.
Yes.
Like, it's just, I even forget some days when I see people being like, oh my God, I've got like all these debts. I'm like, I know what that used to be, but used to be like, but it's no longer a reality. So thank you for sharing that. Before, one of the things that you mentioned was the snowball effect. There are people listening here, and they probably didn't know that there was more than one way to pay off debt, more than one method. So I'd like to just ask you to please explain what the snowball effect is for people that don't know what it is.
Sure, no problem. So let's assume that let's say we have three debts, right? We have a credit card that might have an outstanding balance, let's say of 1,000. We have just gonna cost a small figure. It's 1,000 for the credit card. We might have a medical bill that might be 2,000, and then we have a car note that might be 3,000. So how the debt snowball works is that based on that monthly, so you start with the debt that has the smallest outstanding balance first. So in my example, the credit card debt of 1,000 will be the smallest, and the car note of 3,000 will be your largest. So you start with the smallest outstanding balance first up to the largest. Now, when it comes to your monthly payment, You want to throw, so in regards to that number one, which is the credit card, you're going to make your monthly payment and any other additional money that you can throw towards it to get it cleared, while you maintain your monthly payment as per agreement. In this case, on the car note of 3,000, as well as the medical bill of 2,000, right? So you maintain the monthly amount on that number 2 and 3, but for that number 1, you're making the monthly payment, but you're throwing extra payment towards it as well. So the whole aim is to pay off that number 1, in the case the credit card. Now, once that number 1 has been cleared, this is the mistake people make. The debt number 1 that has been clear, people might think, hey, I have additional money now that I can spend and do what I feel like. No. Nope. We pretend that debt number 1 still exists. So what you're going to do, you're going to take the payment you are making towards that number 1, and you're going to roll it over to debt number 2. So that means that debt number 2, you will have your usual payment, but now you have an extra payment that was going towards that number 1. You have now rolled over to that number 2, while maintaining that monthly amount on that number 3. So that number 3 monthly amount has not changed, but you're throwing everything again at that number 2 until that number 2 is paid off. So again, so far we have paid off that number 1 and that number 2. We only have one that remaining, which is that number 3. So what do? We take the money that was going towards that number 1 and that number 2, and we roll everything over to that number 3 as an extra payment, and we pay off that number 3 until we become debt free. So you think about it like a snowball. At the beginning, your ball is a little bit small, but as you roll over your payments, the ball becomes bigger and bigger and bigger until you become debt free. So that is in essence your debt snowball method. In this particular method, you identify your debt starting with the smallest outstanding balance up to the largest. So therefore, you make your payment. Debt number 1 has extra payments thrown towards it, while you maintain your monthly payments on your other debts. And once one debt is paid off, you roll over that payment to debt number 2. Once that number 2 is paid off, you roll over that number 2's extra payments to that number 3. So in this example, it means that no money that is freed up, you spend. You're not spending any freed up money. What you're doing mentally is that you're still thinking that these debts still exist. And the reason why we still think the debt still exists is that if we don't believe or we don't think that way, you're going to take that money and spend it towards wants or things that do not bring you value. And then it means that you'll be in debt a little bit longer than you need to be. So pretend the debt still exists and roll over the payments until all of your debts have been cleared.
I love that. I use the snowball effect, the snowball method, should I say. Here, my line items, I think I had about 20 line items because I owed people credit cards. Mine was international, guys. Like I always say, I had international debt. I owed friends in New Zealand and Australia, banks in the UK, credit cards in the US, in South Africa. That I did it. It was very intimidating. And I'm currently working with some clients as well that were now using that. I just said, let's just write it down, and we're going to start as we're increasing income to also use the increased income to throw the debt.
Exactly. And I want to add as well that when it comes to the snowball method, it's all about if you are a person who loves small wins. If you know you like wins, like small wins, and you know that small wins motivate you, that is definitely the option that you want to choose in regards to your strategy, because it's for persons to be motivated, because you want to see the small wins so that oh yes, I got it, and you're able then to visualize these things as you do it. So I just wanted to add that as well in regards to the snowball method. If you like small wins, if you want to be motivated by achieving those small wins, then the snowball method is a great option to choose.
I actually really, really love this. As I'm listening to you, it's making me realize that I'm trying with some investments that I want to make. I
Yes.
think part of me has been wanting to do it in the snowball method kind of way, because I think I'm the kind of person that gets really, really annoyed. Like I've been looking at different things and they've been just taking so much time to reach those goals. And then recently I spoke to my financial advisor and I'm like, what if I just do this for this year with my retirement account in particular? And I just push to reach this particular goal that would take me about maybe another another 3-4 years to do that. But because I'm using time in my favor, that money would be just sitting for investments in retirement. What if I just push to do it now?
Yes.
So that's been such an aha moment for me. So I think as I'm listening to you, I'm like, I think that's what I want to do for investments. That's really, really cool.
I love that you are actually able to use the concept and apply it to a different area of finance. That's powerful. That's powerful.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, things are also about personalities, right?
Yes.
I'm the kind of person that really, I get very motivated when I see that goal just be reached in terms of like a financial goal. And I'm sitting with my financial advisor. It's just like, I'm like, yeah, I'm glad that it happened. And then I just like kind of move on. And then I think when I'm doing it just like on a monthly basis, it's great. But I like big wins on top of like the small, steady wins. So now we're working with my personality, which as I'm listening to you, I'm realizing that, wow, that's what's happening with me. This is why I'm doing this entire switch up, because I'm like, okay, this is taking too long. Let's find another way to switch it up and do it differently. But Marcia, I wanted to talk to you about something so critical that you said. You said as you were going on your journey to becoming debt-free and changing your finances, you joined Facebook groups and you found different people to talk to about money. Then you said something really powerful. You said as you were paying off your debt, you started to change. So many of us fear that financial freedom and money will change us. So firstly, how did you deal with that on a mindset and emotional level? The fact that you were changing and what were the impacts of that in your life? And then my second question is also, what kind of shifts did you notice within yourself in terms of how you were looking at money, how you were thinking about money, how you were feeling about money?
So the first question is about basically my mindset, my changes, what would have caused me to change or evolve as it was going through my money journey and the impacts that that would have had. So number one is it was identifying the fact that what my money script was as a child. Because when you grow up in a household, in my case, where that wealth is not something you would have necessarily seen, maybe based on how you were brought up, maybe based on where you live, where where limitation literally surrounded you. All right. There wasn't again, for me, although my father was an entrepreneur, right? I never really had an inkling in my spirit to become an entrepreneur. It was never there. Because we are conformed or taught to go to school, get good grades, work for someone, and then retire. That's it. That's what the educational system taught us, right? We will only think differently as a child if then someone shows you a different path. In this case, it would be business, but it was never sat down to be given that conversation. But what I would say is that I had to change who I was. Like I had to recognize, number one, what my money personality was, and I was operating from a place of poverty. Right? Poverty is something that can be tangible and be seen, but poverty is also a spirit. Poverty is also something that's generational. So when you look at your family lineage, you look and see that there are certain patterns or cycles happening, and maybe there might be a type of delay happening as well. We might think that it's only because of what we did, but we don't know what would have been done in the family that is not impacting you generations later. So when I said that I was going through my process of evolving and trying to understand, I was trying to find language Number one, I was trying to find language for why I saw money the way it did, why I treated money, because in my case, I would say I had a level of indifference towards money because I was not paying attention to it. I was not tracking what I was doing. I was not looking at my statements. I pretty much would get paid and just spend. Get paid, so you get money, you spend it. So there was no intimacy with my money. And therefore, my money, we know money does not have emotions in itself as an object, but I realized that my money at that time was in the hands of a person who was emotionally and maybe even mentally in some regard fragmented or broken. And therefore, if money is in the hand of a person who might have some issues in regards to who they are, their identity, who might have some issues in regards to not knowing what their purpose is, right? There's no forward movement or vision, then my money can only behave like the person who holds it. My money can behave as the person who holds it. So therefore, at that time, as I was going through the exercises, I had a lot of pushback, and not external pushbacks. I had internal wars going on in here because, again, the brain doesn't know, but hey, hold up, you're doing something different. You want to save? You're thinking about investing? You're thinking about starting a business? Like, who's this Marcia? Who's this person? Because my brain, again, because of our subconscious mind, where we automatically just do things. We get money, we spend it. We get money, we party. We get money, we do this and we do that. It's like, who are you now trying to be responsible? So there was an internal war that was going on between, I guess, spirit and flesh, in regards to like me becoming this person that I needed to become. The level of impact though that it had on my life was that I was more intentional about what I was doing. So sometimes, you know, in life, we can get up and just start our day based on routine. But I wanted that every action I had, it was linked to something. There was some type of positive impact happening. Every action, every word I spoke, I wanted to be intentional. So at the time when it was at my job, maybe it would have been comfortable just, you know, coasting through life. But I started to have more dreams of where I wanted to become. My dreams got bigger, or I would not even say got bigger, my dreams returned because I was just living for today. But my dreams started to return in regards to how I saw myself. I started to have hope again. I started to then picture myself like accomplishing certain things. I started to see myself helping people. But before, the Marcia before couldn't see the dreams because it was hopeless at that particular time because, again, of the trauma. So trauma was indeed writing my story for me. So I had to address trauma in order to heal. And because I became healed and whole, then my money started to change. My outlook on life started to change. I had hope for certain things for my family, for myself, for my friends, for people I surrounded myself with. I started to evolve. And guess what happens, right? When you change, people see it. Because there are persons who see your potential before you do. So even in my brokenness, persons still saw my potential. So it was for me now to awaken myself, to see my potential, to see me how other people saw me, and be able to realize, no, you're settling. You're coasting through life. You have been called for more. And because of that, then it awakened a shift within me, whereas then I was able to then see positive impacts in regards to my family dynamic, things change in my family, things change in my work setting, in my career, it changed, you know, in my personal life, it changed. So a lot of things would have came out of that experience, right? A lot of things would have came out of that experience. So as I said, when you're evolving when it comes to money, is number one, identifying what your money language is, what your money script is. It's also recognizing any traumas that you have with money. In order for you to move forward, you have to reflect, you have to look back. You have to first look back to identify what are those traumas, what are those cycles, what are those patterns, overcome those things, heal from that place so that you do not, because if you don't heal, I want to make this point very clear. If you do not heal from your money trauma, you will reach a particular stage in life and that trauma can take you off your platform. That trauma can come back from your past and take you off the platform that you have in your present. So you need to be able to address it, because when it comes to money issues, we tend to sweep things under the rug. We don't want to talk about things, but in order for you to overcome something, you need to first address it. And therefore, when you address something, then you have a positive or a healthy relationship with money, and you don't allow your past to delay or to affect your future, the future version of who you are.
Mm, 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 mm. What you just said there is just so powerful. It's something that I've been noticing more and more because I've been asking myself, we see so many powerful people get to the very, very pinnacle of the top, and then we see them just being brought down because people will say it's their own darkness, but what it is their trauma.
Yeah,
You can make money from a space of trauma, you
yeah,
know, and that trauma will start to play out and be the thing that brings you down. Thank you
yes.
for sharing that. So, Masha, I'm very interested because it doesn't sound like you were in a really hectic situation. Like my situation was, I was blocking numbers that I didn't know. People, you were trying to call me and it was a number I didn't know from whatever country. I was just dropping it and blocking it because I owed so many people money. It was a
Right.
guarantee that it was someone calling me to ask me for their money back. So for you, what was your turning point that made you go like, wow, I want different, I want better?
I would say not having options. When you don't have
Mm,
options, and I can tell you, sometimes when your resources are so limited that you can only accept what is available. There's no choice.
mm,
You can only accept what is available. It's not what you want, but it's something that you need to you need it, right? It's something that you need, and therefore there's no other options. I find that when I'm limited in regards to my options, it does affect me. It's a place I will not want to be again in regards to not being able to do the things they want to be able to do. And this can go from along the lines of maybe not being able to eat the level of meals that you will want to eat, and you have to settle for something that's less desirable, right? Not being able to eat the way
mm.
you want to eat, not being able maybe to attend certain things. So again, when you have limited options and you don't have finances or you don't have money to do certain things, there were many opportunities that passed my way because I did not have the money to invest in them. And
Mm,
the thing is that is something that definitely would affect you because it was a really good opportunity, but because you were not prepared for it. There are a lot of things that we are not prepared for. I have what that has done, it's gonna shift my mentality now to the point that I prepare for what I expect. I
mm,
prepare for what it
mm,
is I expect. Therefore, when that opportunity does come my way, I can easily enroll or I can easily opt into it. But when you are limited in regards to options, I believe that it feels like if your hands are literally tied. And it is not a really good feeling, especially when it comes to even the norm of having to rely on someone. So for sure, like if for sure you have mismanaged your money, this was all you. We are not blaming anyone. This was purely a Marcia decision that she got herself in this situation. And then you have to go to someone and say, hey, can you help me? No, I can tell you before a previous version of me, it was really hard for me to ask for help. It was really, really hard to say, I want help, because guess what? When you ask someone for help, then you have to bring them into your mess. This is a person that might have
mhm,
held you in high regard from the outside looking in. They might have told themselves, well, she got it going on. She's good. Life has to be good. But now you have to bring yourself to a place where you have a level of humility, right? You have to become humble, and you have to become vulnerable, and you have to let someone into your mess and tell someone, hey, I've gotten myself in a bind and I need help, right? But asking for help, what I would have learned over the years is that asking for help is a sign of strength, because it's not for us to suffer in silence. It's not for us to be isolated with our issues. But who do you have in your corner that you can ask for assistance and not feel judged about it, right? And it's also recognizing that my money issues is not my identity. Marcia Armstrong is a person by her own self. My money issues is something separate. And I think that what happens a lot of the time is that a lot of people identify themselves in their money trauma. A lot of people identify
mm,
themselves in their debts. A lot of people identify themselves
mm,
in the fact that they don't have savings or they don't have any investments, or maybe life is just a struggle. And they tend to put the two together, whereas that they claim or lay hold of what's happening in their finances, when in fact, no, your money has its own identity and you have yours. So that is something I would have learned over the years as well. So what I would say, as I said, not having those options, not being able to do what I want to do, having to literally like do things that you had no choice but to do because there was a level of scarcity, there was a level of lack. And operating in a place of lack is not cute at all. At all. It's not a really, it's not a happy place to be. But I also want to end with this, right? You can be a person who has wealth or has finances or has or have resources, and you can still have a lot mindset. You can still have a lot mindset, right? So you can have
see that a lot,
riches, but be thought poor. And when you are thought poor and have tangible riches, it means that you're not already optimizing. You're not optimizing the money you have. You're not taking risks. You're not really doing a lot of things that you can be doing because you are thought poor. So I just want to make a mention of that. You can have it. You can have tangible money, but you can still have a lot mindset.
Wow, thank you so much for that, Marcia, especially about the being thought poor, because I have also seen the impact of that, where someone has a lot of money and they've managed to save and invest, but at the end of the day, to save a lot of money and maybe become debt free, but they struggle with taking opportunities and investing and then making money work for them because they're so scared of losing money. You know, that fear holds them and grips them. And the interesting thing is, I think in our society, we praise people for being scared of spending money. We praise people for being good savers and never ever taking risks because that makes them look like they're good with money. But you and I both know that when you look at people who have created wealth, they've had to take on risk, and return on investment is the price that you get for taking on the risk to invest in something.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a really powerful thing, by the way, that you've just said. So can you please share with people how you work with people to help them become debt-free or to disrupt their personal finances, so to speak? Where do you start? What kind of work do you do with people?
So I have an assessment. So usually I have like a complimentary session, or I call it a money audit. Whereas a 30-minute money audit or financial breakthrough session where persons will opt into that. They will share a bit about what their money script is in regards to their relationship with money or their current situation with money. Then from there, also ask as well, you know, what they earn. All these questions are just pointed to like a starting point, so they have an idea or have context. One of the questions in that questionnaire is like, what do you believe is stopping you or challenging you from achieving your particular goal? And, you know, some persons might have a response for that. Some people might have to think about it a little bit because, as I would have mentioned, money is something that is a little bit taboo. So persons don't already have that level of intimacy with money to really like maybe answer some of the hard questions about it. But we start with an assessment based on how that person or the applicant will complete the assessment. Then from there, at the very bottom of that sheet, I have different service offerings. So whether you do a 60-minute financial consult, maybe you need something quick, a quick little unlocking in regards to your financing, or whether you prefer to do like a 3-month or 6-month or even a 1-year container where that you have a coach, someone that can guide you as you go through your particular process. And then it also offers as well like a personal finance course called the Wealthy Millennial Society. And for that particular course, it's lifetime access to that course, but persons come in as a group container. And I normally keep my numbers very small in this group container. Now, there's a reason for that. I know there are a lot of people who might be more so going after the money, right? Thinking about the money. For me, it's about creating intimacy with the persons I serve. I want persons to know that it is a coaching or a group coaching container that is a level of safety. There's a level of safety. There's a level of belonging. And what I've realized is that besides me being the coach where I would give my input or go to a certain curriculum with persons, I also found as well that women that come into the program, they help one another. When you share your journey, share your experiences or your issues or even your challenges, someone can say, hey, I went through that and this is how I was able to deal with it. So I find that with the group dynamic, you have that level of community coming together, whereas that we're able to encourage one another, edify each other, and be able to give tools based on our own individual experiences in that group. So as I said, the main ways right now to work with me is either through my one-on-ones, whether it is a one-on-one coaching, 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year container, or through my group coaching program, which is through my personal finance course. That's normally for 8 weeks. But because you have lifetime access to the course, I also would have created a Facebook community. So it means that we will still be connected even after those 8 weeks are finished. You can still come into the group, you can still share, you can still ask questions, etc. So I didn't want to like help people and then tell them, well, hey, thank you for joining, goodbye, because we know that there are programs like that exist where persons will pay to come into a program and then we tell them, well, see you later. I wanted to create a community spirit, and therefore, persons that will come into any entry point in regards to my services, there is a community, a group, whereas that you can still stay connected. And my whole aim is this, right? I don't want persons to become dependent upon Marcia Armstrong or A Purpose Life. I want to be able to make ambassadors for personal finance. I want to be able to financially empower people. I want you to become financially confident. I want you to become a financial advocate so that you're able to go into any meeting and have a conversation and know exactly how you can represent yourself. So how do we edify or how do we equip people so that they're able then to go out there and have a level of confidence having certain conversations with banks or credit unions or any other interest that they have? How can they do that without having to solely depend on me to do so? I want to create independent persons who have an independent train of thought, but they can always come back to what I call the hub and get fed and get empowered and get confident to go out and do what they need to do in the world.
I love this. I love this very, very much. It's a similar philosophy that I have around building community and working with people. I am trying to find an alternative to Facebook, though.
Right.
So I haven't found one that I like yet, but working on it in terms of creating client groups. But I love what you've just shared. So how do you, as yourself, also, and even with your clients, after they finish the 8-week program, I'm sure they can keep going back to the program, but how do you maintain daily financial habits to make sure that you stay out of debt, to make sure that you increase income, or increase savings, and you build generational wealth? Are there any specific practices, 2 or 3 practices that you and your clients use on a daily basis to help you do this?
So I want to start by saying that you first must understand that financial literacy is a lifelong journey. It is not a one-off something that you learn today and then you just put to the side tomorrow. Financial literacy is a part of your daily routine. Just like how we brush our teeth, we shower, etc. You want to treat money the same way. So therefore, if I look at financial literacy as something like that is lifelong in nature, it means that habits such as making sure that I check my bank accounts, right? Logging in online, doing a 1-minute money check, for instance, making that a habit. You should have a very intimate relationship with your money. I always tell people, no financial institution should know your money better than you do. So at any one point in time, if I ask you, okay, so if you have debt, how much is your outstanding debt is today? How many debts do you have to pay off? What is the interest rate on the debt, right? You should be able to give me a sentence when I ask that question. When it comes to saving, okay, so what are your savings goals? Like how far are you with saving? So you should know at any one point, whether you decide to do a daily check or a weekly check or even a monthly, you should know, like, you should have financial goals that you're working towards and be able to measure based on your actions to see how far out you are from those goals. Are you on target? Do you need to course correct? Are you below target? Like, you should know where you stand at all times when it comes to your finances. So again, how can you incorporate financial concepts into your lifestyle? Whether it means to check your statements, go online, check your accounts, open your bills, see what the bill says, because there are people who don't check bills, who don't open a bill, an envelope, you know, if it is savings, okay, do you have a savings challenge that you're working towards? Do you have something visual where you are maybe paying off debt? Like, what are your different tools or resources that you are using within your personal as well as your business finances? Like, how are you going about that? What are some of the actions that you're taking daily to make sure that financial literacy is continuously at the top of your mind? Number two, also as well, is to remember what your why is. When you know your why, it means that you are moving towards something. If I don't have a why, it means that every time I try to achieve a goal, there's no target. And when you don't have a target, you will always miss. If I don't have a target, I will always miss, right? So we're not just getting up every day and just doing things because we want to look busy, because there's a difference between being busy and being productive. So therefore, you have to know what your why is. When you know what your why is, you're going to be very intentional in regards to what you do every single day. You're going to be very, very, very intentional in regards to what it is that you're doing, right? You're going to be intentional in regards to any action. So when it comes to procrastination, procrastination does not have a place because you're being intentional. It means I'm being more focused. Right? What am I doing today to make sure that my money is being maximized in the best possible way? How am I optimizing the finances that I have? Now, when you do your assessment as well, it will let you know, do I have to increase my earnings? If I have to increase my earnings, how am I going to increase it? Right? So we're being very intentional with our decision making in particular, right? In regards to increasing our income or reducing our expenses. Now, I always tell persons, don't focus too much on the reducing the expense, because technically for some people, they really can't cut back any further. So you want to get into the mindset or to reframe, how can I earn more to actually afford the lifestyle that I currently have? How can you do that? Because when I switch my mind from trying to cut back to earning, that's a whole different level of me that has to show up in regards to how I'm going to earn, versus someone that's looking to cut expenses. Because when we try to cut everything again, it goes back to a place of what? Scarcity. But I don't want to be scarce. I want to be abundant. So how can I reframe to become an abundant person versus someone who just has to cut back, right? And then last thing I would say is that understand as well, too, when it comes to your financial journey, when you think about people beyond you, you will do a lot more. So serve first. When you serve first, money will come. So whether you are at your job, it might mean you do it. It might mean that there's upward mobility at the job in your career, whether you might want to earn more through a promotion or a raise, or if you are in business, understand that what you are doing is legacy. Your business is creating legacy. A legacy does not always mean when you leave the earth. You can create legacy while you're still alive as well through your decision making. So how are you actually making the world a better place through your business? That might be the vehicle, or through your position. Because when it comes to wealth, right? Wealth is an idea. Wealth is not just about money in a bank account. Wealth is an idea. So if you can come up with a solution, you will always be paid. Whenever you have a solution, you will always get paid for it. So how can I create solutions that better that creates a positive impact on the world besides myself? Because when you look beyond you, it means then that other doors of opportunities will open onto you that you least expect. So what I will end here by saying is that because I would have sowed in one place does not mean I will reap in that same place. I might sow in one area but be blessed in another. But you can only be blessed in another, again, when you look past you. Because if your wealth or your money only surrounds you, it means that your dream or your goal is a little bit too small. You need to think bigger. Right? Because a big vision has to scare you. It will scare you because when you have a large vision, it means only you need people to get it done. It means that you have to look past you. And therefore, it's going to cause you as well. If you're a person who likes to hold on to things as well, a part of becoming a wealthy person, not just in money, but in your mind and how you carry yourself, it means you have to learn how to release, and you have to know how to receive. Both releasing and receiving, it means your hands have to be open. In order for you to release, your hands have to be open for you to release it. In order for you to receive, your hands have to be open for you to receive what it is you have to receive. So when you become a person who accumulates or becomes wealthy, it means then you have to understand that the legacy that you're creating has to be bigger than just you. When people call your name, what are they going to picture next to your name? What are they picturing next to your name? When people call your name, when people call your business, what are they envisioning? Right? You want to be able to understand that the day that I leave this earth, the decisions that I made still cause people to eat from it. People are able to still survive from what I said yes to. So you have to have a vision, you have to have legacy, and I will say you have to be obedient. When God tells you to move, in my case, when God tells me to move and do a thing, I do it, even if it looks stupid to other people. It doesn't have to make sense to people, right? I know why I'm doing it. So a level of obedience where you go the narrow path, the path people don't take. You have to be okay with people looking at you a little bit weird. You have to be okay with people having an opinion, because people that make an impact will create noise. They don't have to create a noise themselves, but the impact that they're making creates a noise in the world that will cause other people to take notice of it. So that is what I want to end by saying, right? So financial literacy is a lifelong journey. It is a part of your lifestyle. If you become it, you will flow from it and cause other people to also eat from the decisions that you say yes to today.
Wow. Okay. That was, oh my gosh. I felt that. I felt it in my spirit. Like, I was like, whoa, I was ready to just start saying, say it, and start clapping. Thank you so much, Marcia. I feel like that is actually the simplest way of describing generational wealth and legacy. Thank you. That was so, so powerful. My second last question to you is to say, what have been some of the most valuable lessons that you've learned about life, yourself, or even money from this journey to financial freedom? I love the journey to financial freedom because it spans beyond money.
Yes.
You know, it will take us to so many places, and we learn such beautiful life lessons from it.
I love this question. Is so beautiful. It's a beautiful question. What I would say is that you have to, I want to start by saying you have to love you, and you have to believe in you. You have to believe in yourself. They're gonna be, we have persons who are critics already. We have persons who will speak against our destiny and they call upon our lives. But the conversation that you have with yourself is more important. It's gonna be way more important than what people say about you. So how you treat yourself, the words you speak over yourself, you have to be very careful in regards to what you release out of your mouth, in regards to the words that you proclaim over yourself. You have to believe in you. When you believe in yourself and you believe in the impossible, that the impossible is possible, there's really no one that can stop you from going after your dreams or going after your goals. So you have to start, and I believe that is really the seed form, because you will teach people how to treat you. You teach people how to treat you based on how you treat yourself. So therefore, you have to come to a place where you operate from a place of love and grace. Forgive yourself for the things you didn't get right. Forgive yourself. Don't take it. Don't condemn yourself over and over, saying, I wish I would have done this, or compare your journey to someone else in regards to, well, look at this person, they're further than me. No, you are where you're supposed to be. You have to look at your own lane, focus on the goal you're trying to achieve, the vision you're trying to achieve, and just give yourself grace, because you will make mistakes in life. Life is not a straight line. right? And what it would say is that I want you to embrace mistakes, because when you embrace mistakes, it teaches you what not to do the next time. And you also are able to walk away with a lesson. There are always clues or success clues, even in failures, in regards to, okay, let me handle this a little bit different the next time, or what did I learn from the experience? So give yourself grace in your journey in regards to what you're doing. Also remember as well too that the road less traveled, right, is going to be the road that you need to take in order for you to walk out the purpose that you have been assigned. You're not supposed to be common with everybody else. If everyone looked the same, then our world will be pretty much, there's no differentiation that we were seeing in the world right now. You have to be okay with going to other path, or going down a road less traveled, and not be intimidated by your call. Persons who are chosen, persons who have been sent out, are a little bit different from other people who operate in a place of comfort. So don't be afraid to be the person who's different in the room. It means that you're going to give people a different way to look at life, and understand, you know what? This person or this young woman, this lady did not go this particular road, but look what she was able to accomplish. So don't be afraid of a person saying, well, you shouldn't do, I don't understand what you're doing. It's quite fine. We have not been called in this earth to serve everybody, right? There's no customer name everyone anyway. So it is about understanding who it is that you have been called to serve, who your niche market is, and focus on that transformation that you're going to provide to these set of people. All right. So again, number one is to operate from a place of love. Give yourself grace in your journey. And then don't be afraid to travel the road that is less traveled, that narrow road. Don't be afraid to go against the grain. Don't be afraid to ask the questions people aren't asking. Don't be afraid to do that, because at the end of the day, that generation that is attached to your yes, that generation that is attached to your commitment, they need you to show up. So you can't afford to cower. You can't afford to be afraid. You can't afford to say, well, not me. Like, you need to step up, because the world needs your yes, and the world needs your commitment.
Wow. Marcia, this has been absolutely, absolutely incredible. I know that you speak, but I hope that you do speaking
More?
like en masse. Your words, the way you say things really touches in the heart. I can feel it. There's something. So thank you for sharing with us. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners agree. And I'm sure they like, oh my gosh, I need this woman in my life. I need to follow her. I need to hear her speak more. How do they get hold of you? Where can they go to hear you speak, talk, sign up for courses?
So thank you so much. You just confirmed some stuff for me as well, because I plan to do more speaking engagements. So thank you so much for that. So for persons that want to reach out to me, you can go to Instagram and Facebook. I have my business page, A Purpose Life is my business name. And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. Also, for those that are on LinkedIn, my LinkedIn folks, you can find me under Marcia Armstrong, my own name. And my website is www.apurposelife246.com. On my website, you will learn a little bit more about me and what I do and what my services are. I look forward to receiving those DMs. Feel free to reach out to me in DM. I'm very down to earth, so you don't have to worry. I love to chat with persons. I love people. So let's connect and let's have a conversation and see how I can actually serve your needs. Let me know.
Awesome. So guys, you've heard, please check out in the description all those links. You don't have to keep them in your head. They'll all be in the description. So wherever you're listening, if you're listening, Spotify, Apple, Podbean, you'll get the links to Marcia's website and social media in the description, and also on YouTube. And of course, as usual, if you guys are loving this episode and you're like, oh my gosh, my friends and family have to hear this, please share the podcast. Please share the podcast episode far and wide. You don't know which ones of your loved ones need to hear this voice, but if you're hearing that so-and-so needs to hear this podcast episode, send it to them. You don't know who needs to hear these words, right? And as usual, if you guys are interested in looking into tapping into ancestral money wisdom, I still have the free 7-day tapping into ancestral money wisdom training. And if you want to learn more about how to work on your ancestral money trauma and start tapping into ancestral money wisdom, you can also check out all those links in the description. Thank you so much, Money Magicians. And of course, thank you so much, Marcia, for your generosity, for your wisdom, and honestly, just for your words. As I was listening to you, I was like, your voice is powerful. It is healing. So thank you for coming to share with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next Money and Magic episode, Money Magicians. Cheers.